Many Americans refuse to come to terms with the idea that their favorite brands are aiding the human trafficking industry. Hey guys, welcome to this podcast. I'm your host, Maddie Nakamura, and today we will be diving into a big issue society is facing: human trafficking. This problem is very large in itself, but for the short time we have together today, I hope that this talk will strengthen your understanding of human trafficking and show you how to help. So let's get right in. There is a common misconception that sex trafficking is the only or largest form of human trafficking. But according to the International Labor Association, forced labor is the most prevalent type of human trafficking worldwide. Forced labor is more than poor working conditions. Individuals are often forced to work against their will with little pay or to pay off debts. Victims are often immigrants, women, and children because of their vulnerability. Employers who exploit immigrants usually threaten them with deportation, silencing workers with fear. This explains why industries dependent on immigrants such as agriculture, construction, and mining make up half of the trafficking industry's revenue, according to a 2022 report by the U.S. State Department. So yes, human trafficking is a way bigger deal than we think. Finally, both political parties agreed that cracking down on forced labor in the U.S. is necessary for upholding the Constitution and keeping the U.S. economy safe. Last year, the Biden administration halted over $1 billion of foreign goods at U.S. seaports. This was done to stop products with possible ties to forced labor in other countries, specifically China, from entering the U.S. China has recently been exposed for its mistreatment of the Uyghur people and the labor trafficking institutions placed on them. In fact, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights agreed that China has committed serious human rights violations by doing so. This is not the first time we have seen the federal government intervene with sea trade for human rights, especially in terms of labor. Way back in the early 1800s, the U.S. government banned the Atlantic slave trade, prohibiting slaves from being further imported into the country. This one small step played a big role in the fight against legalized enslavement. But we can see today that we are still fighting to abolish slavery in its entirety, even with its prohibition. Many big companies are unfortunately involved in using labor trafficking to mass-produce products for pop culture. With this in mind, the federal government has continued investigations. For perspective, out of that $1 billion that was stopped at the U.S. ports last year, only a third has been released. Many Americans refuse to come to terms with the idea that their favorite brands are aiding the human trafficking industry. Unfortunately, the facts reveal that many popular brands do utilize international forced labor practices, causing other Americans to argue against the support of these brands. At the end of the day, it can be agreed that since the country's founding, America's economy has been built on slavery in some shape or form. In order to uphold human rights, the government and people of America need to continue to take measures to improve the problem of forced labor. We are far from perfect, but it is the progress that counts. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you for listening and making an effort to learn about relevant issues we as a country are facing. See you next time.